Definitely need something to take notes. Let me switch it up a little bit here. I'm always curious to know what is the main style of martial arts that you teach, right? So, what is the main style of martial arts that you teach? All right, seeing Taekwondo and BJJ in here. Got a little Kung Fu, ATA Taekwondo. I like that, like the distinction. And some of our ATA family on here. See a lot of our Maya Elite family. All right. So a lot more BJJ schools on. Gotta love that. Very cool. All right. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to end up dropping this a few times in the chat for you guys because we have still people coming in. But I just put either a Canva template link. So if you want to type directly into Canva, you can do that, or you can download that PDF. We are going to be working through the workbook and doing some activities in there. So I want to make sure everybody has access to it. Okay. We got a lot to uncover. We still got people coming in, but I want to jump into it. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being awful, 10 being like exceeded our goals, how would you rate 2025? I know it's not over yet, but let's just say up to today, scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate it? All right, we got a 6 and a 7. And if I was my 5-year-old son, Cruz, I would be cracking up hysterically because I just said 6, 7. Still don't understand why it's so funny, but I'm sure you guys have many students on the mat who are laughing at the 6, 7 jokes. All right, kind of seeing a lot of 5s, a lot of 6s. I think kind of the highest I've seen so far is an 8. We got an 8.975 for Master Bolts. I love the specificity of that. Very good. A 7. Oh, nice to see the Pendergrass brothers on here. Very good. Rough 6. Okay. Well, awareness typically precedes change. So let's get some awareness about where marketing is heading in 2026 today. Let me go ahead, share the screen. We will be sending out the keynote. If you want to take pictures or screenshots, feel welcome, but we always do give access to it. And, guys, just really thank you for being here. Thank you for being what I would consider an action taker. Miss Jen, don't worry. I don't feel like you're yelling at me. I know you're not the type to yell. How do you print from Canva? You could just download it as a PDF and then print it that way. I did put the PDF in there, and I'll drop it again here in a second for you, okay? So this is what we are going to be focusing on. We're going to kick off with the top trends for 2026. This is one of the questions I'm consistently getting, especially around AI and AEO and all of the things. So we're going to go through the top 11 trends for 2026, just to put it on your radar. And then we're going to dive into the workshop aspect of this, where we're going to set clear goals and targets for the year. And I have a really cool app that we built out for you to be able to plug directly in there and get all of the, basically the goals that you should be setting in terms of how many leads, how much you should be spending on your marketing budget. It's going to spit all of that out for you, which is really cool. And then my ultimate goal is just set you up for a massive success in 2026. So let me just drop this one more time for those of you that are just popping in. Here is the PDF of the workbook. And then if you just want the Canva template, if you want to type right into it, you can do that as well. All right. So pull that up. We're going to get to that after we go through the trends. This is what that martial arts growth planner looks like. So I'm going to give you guys the link to be able to plug in your data to that. And for those of you that are maybe new to the Grow Pro world or Cris Rodriguez, I've been a lifelong martial artist, started at Taekwondo school when I was 8 years old. I got my 3rd degree black belt in Taekwondo, and during that journey, fell in love with jiu-jitsu. My Taekwondo instructor started training with the Gracies and then started bringing that curriculum into the Taekwondo school. And I was really, really bad at jiu-jitsu, and I don't like being bad at things. So I shifted my focus, started training at a Gracie Baja School, and eventually founded Gracie Pack MMA, which is a BJJ and MMA academy in Tampa, Florida. I'm also the author of The Best Known Dojo. It is a marketing book for martial arts school owners. So if you don't have a copy, feel free to reach out to me. This is my email address, probably the most professional email address you've ever seen. But shoot me an email with your address. I'd be happy to send you a free copy of my book. It is a bestseller. Not a New York Times bestseller, but an Amazon bestseller. You know, not quite the same, but be happy to shoot that over to you guys. I have, been a speaker at industry events for many years, and this is something I'm kind of proud of. In 2023, I was rated the highest speaker at the Martial Arts Super Show. So that was pretty cool. They have everybody that attends rate all the speakers. I got the highest rating, so I was something that I was pretty pumped up about. I've had articles published in the Martial Arts Success magazine, and we currently at GrowPro work with over 500 martial arts schools all over the United States and internationally. So we have a lot of data around what we are going to be sharing, okay? And if you're curious about the midget twister, maybe that's a story for another day, but it is a jiu-jitsu technique, all right? At GrowPro, we work with all different types of clients: BJJ, MMA, Taekwondo, traditional karate schools, any style. We work with them, and we've got results regardless. I get that question a lot, like, oh, Cris, we do Kung Fu, or we do Tai Chi, or we do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Does it work? The answer is yes, it does work. And we have tons of different case studies on our website if you're curious to see the type of results that we get for our clients. We even work with schools that are just starting out. This is an example. Robbie D'Onofrio, he was opening a brand new BJJ school, and they had 50 signups. Imagine starting your school day one with 50 brand new students. So whether you're established or whether you're new, we can, really help you grow. And we even have a call center for appointment setting, which I know is a huge challenge for a lot of schools, is just that ability to be consistent with the follow-up and the speed to follow-up. All right. So this is what we do. We focus specifically on marketing for martial arts schools. And our mission is to give studio owners just like you the freedom to do what you love. If I asked you why you opened up your martial arts school, I'm probably not going to see on that list like to send, database reactivation campaigns or to launch Google ads or any of that kind of stuff. So whatever freedom to you looks like, whether that's, man, I get to be on the mat every day teaching, or I get to be in the lobby hanging out with the parents and building rapport, or maybe freedom looks like I get to eat dinner at 6 p.m. 5 nights a week instead of at 10 or 11 p.m. Everybody's definition of that is different. We are here to help support that, all right? So that's just a little bit about who we are. Let's dive into the 2026 trends. If you guys are excited to see these trends, can you give me 2026 in the chat? Give me 2026. I know I'm ready for a brand new year. 2025 was difficult personally for my family, so ready for a brand new start. Okay. This is the first trend that you need to be aware of, okay? And it's called zero-click search and the rise of AI answers, okay? Have any of you ever been on Google, asked it a question, and at the top, you see something that says AI overview? Give me a yes or a no if you have noticed that in Google, where you type something in, and now at the top, instead of seeing Google ads, you're seeing this AI overview. And we're going to continue to see this more and more. It's a newer feature that Google rolled out. And the issue with this is that just more people are going to be getting answers directly from Google and also other platforms like ChatGPT without actually going straight to your website. So what this means is that the content that you are putting out online needs to be structured so that AI can easily read it and quote you as the best answer. And I don't think it's any surprise that putting out content is, I think we know that AI is most powerful when it has data, right? Well, if you haven't been posting content over the years and you're not showing up online, how is how is AI ever going to be able to recommend you? It's not, right? So these things that we have been preaching for years and years as marketers, for those of you that have been consistent with it, it's going to be easier for you to win in things like the zero-click search and just the rise of AI answers. So we're going to continue to see that. I'm going to dive in deep to how you, like, actual tactical things that you can do to help your chances of showing up in these AI answers. Okay, so I'm going to dive deeper into that when we get a little bit further in today's training. Okay. The second trend we are going to see, and I have to put this because you guys would not believe the amount of school owners that still do not offer online scheduling. We do audits every single day with school owners all over the United States, and we ask them, do you have a way for people to book online? And for some of you, you might think like, yeah, I've been doing that for years. Not everybody has this capability. And the reason why this is so important is because the instant scheduling removes friction, okay? Convenience is now a competitive advantage. You have to be convenient for people to find you and to sign up, okay? So if you're not offering online scheduling, highly recommend it. The only thing that I've heard from school owners on like, well, I want to talk to them before they schedule the, into the calendar. And it's like, okay, I get it. You want to build rapport. You want to ensure that they're showing up. Just because they book online doesn't mean you're still not picking up the phone and calling. You're still doing it. You're just making it convenient, especially for maybe a busy parent that's not getting they're getting home late and it's, 9 p.m. Your school is closed. They see your ad. They click on it. They can book directly in. And now you can have automations and AI have conversations while your company is closed for the night. All right. So it needs to be an absolute non-negotiable. Another one, and again, you might think like, Cris, is this really a trend for 2026? There are schools that do not focus on text messaging in terms of communication. Let me ask you, in the chat, would you prefer to text or to call? And I'm just saying, like, in general, you as a human being, put text if you prefer text, put call if you prefer call. All right, I saw one call so far. All right, we got 2. All right, 3. The majority is text. All right, for most people, it's more convenient. All right, so you need to offer this as a way to communicate. You're going to get higher response rates. You're going to get faster follow-up. And it's meeting the person where they're at. I still think even if you do have a text conversation, you're still picking up the phone to call to confirm the appointment, right? We still want to have that interaction, but this is just an absolute non-negotiable for next year, okay? Number 4, the AI employee. I know, Rachel, I was going to ask, like, can everybody put their age next to it? But I know some people are hesitant in that, but I do think that's a good point. And probably the majority of you that said call, you're probably well over, I would probably say you're over the age of 45 or 50. That's just, that's my assumption that I'm making there. Okay. The AI employee. And I want to be transparent here. We use the term AI employee, AI receptionist. It is just kind of a fancier way of talking about AI chatbots and AI voice. Okay. AI employees, you're going to see it more and more and more. For some of you, you probably are already using some form of a chatbot. Maybe you have it on your website, or maybe it's tied into your automations. But we are going to see this be more prevalent, specifically in our industry. And it's just because it ensures 24/7 instant responses. And maybe you're a school owner that has a full-time job, or maybe it's, like 6 p.m. and you don't have a big staff and you're focused on the students in your school and teaching classes, but a lead comes in. There are benefits to it, but one of the mistakes that I think can happen as we are starting to implement more AI into our businesses is that we're doing it because we think it's more efficient, when you really need to ask, is it as effective? So when we build out AI employees for our clients, we turn them on between 9 p.m. and 9 a.m. because more than likely the school is closed during that time. So now the AI employee can actually work while you sleep and actually book appointments where that normally wouldn't be happening because you're closed. Okay. I think one of the mistakes schools are going to make with just the excitement and everything that's new with AI is you're going to go too deep into it and you're going to forget about the most important aspect of business, which is business in its most simplistic form is about relationships. So we still need to have that human connection, but AI is really great for when we're just unable to do it. All right. So this is something to have on your radar. If you, and let me ask, yes or no, are you using some form of chat bot to help book appointments? Yes or no? Got not yet. Yes, yes, not really, no. Okay. It's probably about like a 60-40 split. Okay. Got it. We were switched to concierge. Yeah. And that just goes back to it. Like, look, I would much rather a human do it. Because I hope that the human is trained and is more effective than the AI. But if the human can't do it, it should be there as a backup. So this is actually now something we offer all of our Grow Pro clients. It's included. There's no additional fee for it. But we do recommend only having it turned on between 9 p.m. and 9 a.m. Okay. Number 5, and this is not a new one, but it's just going to become even more important with AI rolling out, and that's authentic video content. Parents and adults, they want to see real classes. They want to see real instructors, real students, and it doesn't have to be this like perfectly polished studio commercials. There are a time and a place for that, but people, especially now when you go online, sometimes you can't tell, is that AI generated? Like maybe 3 years ago you could, because you would just have to look at the fingers. And if you saw like a 6th or 7th finger, you knew it was AI. It's getting so good. And every day it's getting better and better that, all marketing is cyclical. I truly believe that within a year, maybe 2, people are actually going to prefer to pay more. Like speaking to a human is going to be an upsell because some people just don't want anything to do with it. Right? I know when I call Bank of America and I've got to talk to the robot, I get very frustrated. I just want to speak to a human being. So we just have to make sure that anything that we are implementing with AI, it's not just more efficient, it's also effective. But with seeing more AI generated content online, people are going to crave authenticity. So this is the type of content you need to put out. Can you guys just be honest with me here? Like level with me a second. Give me a yes or a no. Have you posted a piece of video content in the last week? Yes or no, have you posted a piece of video content? All right. It's kind of split. All right. And guys, this isn't, like I said, it's nothing new, but we often need to be reminded more than we need to be taught. You guys know you're supposed to be doing this, but you're not. Okay. So the companies that continue to invest their time and energy, and really, guys, it's not a whole bunch of effort. I think what it comes down to a lot is confidence. I think some people, you put a camera in front of them and they're ready to go. And then other people, not so much, right? There's a confidence kind of issue there. But what would you tell your student if they, I'm really nervous about, you're going to tell them just keep practicing, right? It's the same advice that we need to take there. Number 6, this is big, guys. And thank you, Michelle. I appreciate that. Your Google business profile is turning into your new homepage. All right. So most prospects are going to judge your school from your Google listing before they ever even click to your website. They're looking at your photos. They're looking at your reviews. They're looking at the updates. And that is going to determine whether they click, whether they call, whether they schedule. So an optimized Google business profile is now a non-negotiable for local ranking and conversions. Define authentic content. Yeah, just you on camera or team member on camera, pictures of your school, not stock. You wouldn't believe how often we go to social media accounts and all we see are stock images or AI images. Why? Because it's faster and it's easier. But fast and easy doesn't always mean authentic. I want a parent that's going to my Facebook business page to be able to scroll through and get a feel for who we are, what we do, and who we serve. And that's only going to happen if you have that authentic content. Okay. Number 7, fast offer delivery. One of my favorite quotes: money loves speed. Okay. We are in a world of convenience, right? You wouldn't believe how many times I have to have conversations with my team members out on the floor when I see them ordering Uber Eats. I'm like, I know how much money you make, and I make more money than you. And I don't order Uber Eats because it's a waste of money, right? But that their age group have been conditioned that, oh, like you, this level of convenience is the norm, right? If we're ever doing Uber Eats, it's like a special treat, maybe like once a quarter, right? Or maybe it's because we're out of town. Consumers expect responses in seconds today, not in minutes and in hours. And the schools that reply the fastest are going to win at enrollment. You have to have speed to lead, okay? This one, I don't think a lot of owners know. I think everybody knows we want to have Google reviews, right? Can you guys drop in the chat how many Google reviews you have? Let's see. And yes, Mr. Schwal, that is correct. And thank you, Miss Shelley. Not enough. Got it. All right. 336. Geez. I wonder who your consultant has been for the last 10 years, Guy and Rob. Love to see it. Awesome. Okay. So Google reviews are important, but this is more important. It's the velocity, meaning Google cares more about how recently you're getting reviews than how many you have accumulated historically. Okay. So for those, and I have been guilty of this before. I'm calling Guy and Rob Pendergrass out about this because I want to say maybe 7 or 8 years ago, maybe even longer, we did a Google review challenge. I came up with this idea like, how can we hit triple digits reviews? And I said, well, if I turn it into a competition, my students are going to get pumped up and excited about it. So I reached out to Guy and Rob. They're in Raleigh. We're in Tampa, Florida. I said, let's do a competition. We're both at around like 30 reviews. Let's see whose school can get to 100 reviews the fastest. And within a couple of days, we hit it. Now, they hit it faster, so they did win. But it rallied all of the students because we're like, oh, we're in this competition with this other jiu-jitsu school. We can't lose to them. We both ended up winning because we both ended up getting over triple-digit reviews. But what ends up happening most of the time is you guys go through these cycles of pushing reviews, and you'll get a big increase, and then you stop. And then you're a couple of months later, you're like, oh, yeah, I got to get more Google reviews, okay? You have to get them consistently. That is a more important signal to Google than just, oh, 2 years ago, they got 300 reviews, and in the last year or so, they've only gotten 5 or 10, okay? So it is a more recent change. Yes, ma'am. All right. So the review velocity, how recently you're getting reviews. Oh, and all it is that these fresh reviews are signaling to Google that you are a thriving business. Okay. And we're going to talk more about how we can turn this into a system here in a little bit. Okay. Number 9, community-based marketing, right? Chris, I thought this was about, digital. And it is about digital. But if you only focus on digital, you're going to fail. There are internal marketing strategies, external marketing strategies, and digital. And you need to be good in all 3. Your community-based marketing, some of it is internal, some of it is external. But schools that blend it with in-person events, community events, going to festivals, partners in education, they end up becoming the place where people say, I see you everywhere. I think that is one of the best compliments you can get as a business owner, is somebody coming up to you and you're like, man, I see you guys everywhere. And the most successful schools show up everywhere. As much as I love Facebook ads and Google ads and digital, it can't be the only line in the ocean, okay? also, because of AI and because of how much time people are spending on screens, being in the actual community is going to become more important than ever for families. Okay. So really make sure you're leaning into your community-based marketing. And that is a part of just being multi-channel. People rarely convert from a single touch point. I would say if you are going to get a conversion from a single touch point, it's likely just a referral. Like referrals don't need as many touch points because they have a trusted person in their life that says, hey, you have to go to this place. But, I want to give an example. I've been having some shoulder pain this year. I injured my shoulder in April. I rehabbed it, and then I re-injured it in October. And I've been rehabbing it, but it's not getting back to where it needs to be. So I've been stuck doing like 4 leg days a week. To tell you, my legs have been hurting, right? So I finally was like, okay, these band workouts that I'm doing, it's not helping. So because this thing listens to everything that I say, guess what I started seeing when I went over on social media? I started seeing ads for shoulder relief, right? And there was this particular shoulder relief tool that it's like a stick and it has a weighted ball and you circle it and it's like this 40 days. And I went to go read the reviews and every freaking review said this solved my shoulder pain issues. I was like, oh, okay. I mean, that's pretty cool. So then what did I do next? I went on the website. I opted in. What did I do next? I started getting emails, but I still just wasn't at the buying cycle just yet. And then guess what happened? Black Friday. So then what do I start seeing? I start seeing their Black Friday ads and I'm getting their Black Friday emails. So guess what I did? I bought it, right? People often need multiple touch points. I am a sucker. It hasn't even come in yet either. I've been like checking every day. Like I guess they had a really good Black Friday, but you have to make sure that you are in all of these different multi-channels. Okay. It can't just be one. It's going to help with higher show rates. Okay. And yeah. And exactly, Mr. Vihill, we're now talking about it, right? So it's still working. Okay. Last up is AI video and voice. And, I really do have such a love-hate relationship with AI. I'm sure you've seen the different softwares out there that can clone your voice, that can create clones of you. And that's nothing new, right? It's actually been out for a couple of years now. Companies like HeyGen, where you hop on camera for, 20 seconds, say a couple of words. Maybe you've checked out Sora 2, right? With Sora 2, it's like they have you say, I don't know, I think 3 words, and then you turn your head to the left, you turn your head to the right, and then they can recreate your image, okay? We're going to see more and more of this. And what I want everybody to remember around AI is that there has never been a technological advancement that has spread as fast as AI, right? It's like when the light bulb came out, it took over 40 years for houses to have light bulbs inside. When ChatGPT came out, it just took like a couple of years for your average person to be using it on a consistent basis. And if you don't think they are, they are. I was at my son's Taekwondo class the other week, and there's a mom in there. She's a stay-at-home mom, and what is she? She's got ChatGPT pulled up, and she was creating lesson plans for her kids, just like extracurricular like work for them to do at home, okay? One of the things that I'm really excited about in terms of AI voice, and give me yes or no, would you prefer put AI or put human? If you're reaching out to a company, what would you prefer to talk to? Just keep it real with me. Human or AI? All right, here we go. Human. Ooh, I like that, Mr. Vihill. Depends how good the AI is. And that's the point that I'm going to be making is it's getting so good that you can barely tell. For the last 2 years, there's been that awkward, like half a second pause, right? And it's like so awkward, or the tonality when they're dipping the voice high or low hasn't been accurate. Here's the reality. AI voice today is the worst that it will ever be. Tomorrow it's getting better. The next day it's getting better. The next day it's getting better. And it's just going to continue. What I'm really excited for is when, and this should be rolling out, I'm going to say probably Q2 of next year, is when we can give people a choice. I don't like when I call Bank of America and it forces me to speak to a robot. And I'm like, speak to a representative, right? We all have that voice in us. It's going to get to a place where if you can't answer, the voicemail is going to say, press 1 to leave a message, press 2 to talk to our AI. And then it at least gives the person a choice, right? I'm not a fan of forcing it because pretty much 99% of you said you would rather speak to a human being. Okay. But there will get a point where, okay, well, what if you can't answer? I think Michelle said that, right? Like, well, it depends. Is it, after hours? Maybe I just really, really want to get this information. I can't speak to a human. I'm okay speaking to the AI. Okay. So that's one thing I'm really excited for. We're actually internally building out AI voice in preparation of being able to offer it as a choice, not as you have to use this, but hey, if the prospect chooses to, it's an option for them. Okay. Do you guys use virtual assistants for lead follow-up, at least digitally? I would want to speak with them on the phone personally. Is that a bottleneck? We actually have US-based callers. We do have some VAs that will fill in, but predominantly all of our concierge agents are US-based. Guys, here's the reality, though. I think the big thing about using VAs is the language barrier. I think that's like the main thing, right? Now, there are some VAs that you wouldn't even be able to tell that they live in a different country. So to me, it's just, well, is the VA effective? That's what's most important to me, not where they live, just are they effective? Okay. So those are the 11 trends to have on your plate. Okay. Hopefully that gave you some insights into what's coming into 2026. Now I want to shift gears towards the actual workshop portion of this. Okay. So inside of your workbook, so let me just drop it in here again because I know a lot of you have popped in a little bit later. So you got a couple of options there. You got a PDF or you got Canva. So, but just have this pulled up because it's going to be inside of the workbook right here on page number 2. So if everybody could pull up page number 2 here, okay? If you've been following me, you know that I say math is the path. It's probably one of the sentences I say more than any other sentence. We want to make data-driven decisions. This, to me, is what really establishes a good business from a great business. And if I ask you what's your current active count and you have to click into multiple softwares and 27 clicks before you can get it, that's a problem, right? I'm a big believer in like simple scales, basic Google spreadsheets. I should literally be able to ask you any of these questions, and within 2 clicks, you can pull this data. If that's not where you're at right now, that is something I highly recommend. At GrowPro, yes, we handle your digital marketing needs, but there's also a coaching component to it. So I do a monthly masterclass for all of our clients. Our masterclass last month, it's recorded, you get all of the assets, was all about building a business tracker. So you have access to all of this data that you need, because how in the world can I ask you to set goals for 2026 if you don't even know how you did in 2025? How can you? You can't. So I want you to let's take 2 minutes, okay? And what I want you to fill out is this sheet. And I'm going to go through one by one, and then you guys are going to let me know once you're done. And again, if you don't want to put it directly on here, just want to write it down on a sheet of paper, put it in a Google Doc, that's fine. What is your current active count? How many current students do you have? Okay. What is your average monthly revenue? This is important to put average because a lot of you just did a holiday event and you probably brought in a lot of money. So I don't want you to just do it based off of December. So your average monthly revenue across the year of 2025. Another important number for you to recognize is what your tuition billing check is versus your total revenue check. So maybe your tuition billing, which is what you charge monthly, is at $15,000, but your total revenue is at $30,000. And to me, that's an ideal scenario where your tuition is only 50%. You're probably not going to have access to this, but I did want to put that in there because it is an important number to look at. If the only thing that you are collecting is tuition, that tells me that you're not leveraging all the different profit centers that are inside of your business. There's only a specific amount of ways for you to make money in your business. At Maya, we call them the 5 profit centers: new students, upgrades, renewals, retention, retail, and special events. And we throw private lessons and special events. And you're like, well, Cris, everybody is month to month and we don't do renewals. Okay, well, now you're down to 4 profit centers. Or, Cris, we don't actually store any of the retail. It's a pain in the butt to do inventory and order, so we just tell people to get it online. Okay, well, now you're down to 3 profit centers. Cris, we don't do upgrades, so, well, now you're down to 2 profit centers. And most schools typically are only leveraging 1 or 2 of the profit centers. So it's just a good number to have in mind. I think I'm going to do a training specifically on how to get to that 50%, where your tuition's only 50% of the total revenue. But again, it's just something to have top of mind, okay? And then just what is the average number of new students that you've gotten per month, okay? The other key metrics, your average student value. Okay, how do you figure out your average student value? Well, on a monthly basis, you would just take how much revenue came in, divide it by your active count. That's your average student value. Okay. The last one is the conversion rate. And this is something that a lot of schools do not look at, but it's so important. If I had $1 for every time a school owner said, Cris, just get them in the door, I'll close them. I close 100%. Like, no, you don't. Nobody closes 100%. You need to know your lead to appointment, appointment to show, and show to close, okay? I like using the model of 50% from lead to appointment. Not all the leads that come in are ready to buy. Look at the example that I gave you with the shoulder company. I was on their list probably for 2 or 3 months before I pulled the trigger and purchased it, okay? So 50% lead to appointment, 70% appointment to show if it's a free offer. If you require people to pay before they even step foot in your door, then that number is going to be higher because they have more skin in the game. And then an 80% show to close. 10 people walk in, you should be closing 8. Well, how do you track that? On a daily basis, you need to be tracking this inside of a spreadsheet. And it's really not that difficult. We provide this to our clients at GrowPro, so where they can just plug in the amount of leads, the amount of appointments, the amount of shows and closes, and it pumps out. The formulas are built into the spreadsheet, and it pumps out the percentages. Okay, so it's not like you even have to do the math because the math is built into the spreadsheet. Okay, so just take about a minute. I know I was rambling on a little bit, but I just wanted to make sure everybody knew what each one of these were. And whatever you have access to, get down on paper, all right? I'm going to reshare, and I'm going to put a little bit of music on. I know, Miss Shelley, you are already done. It's because you keep great stats, which I appreciate, ma'am. But just drop in the chat once you're done when you have as many of those metrics that you can find. All right. I'm going to level with you guys for a second. I'm going to stop the screen share so you can look directly into my eyes here. Oftentimes, when we start talking about numbers and math with martial arts school owners, I start seeing the glaze go over the eyes. And what I just really want you to understand is that this is a skill. This is a required skill that you need to consistently improve. If you are the CEO of the company, more than likely in your martial arts school, you're also the CFO of the company. Very rare that I would see a martial arts school owner actually hire that out, or maybe, their wife handles that if, you're in a partnership, with your significant other. But you need to develop this as a skill. And this is why. We're about to set a goal for 2026, right? And if you think of like the case studies around lottery winners, right? Do the lottery winners end up being able to keep their money, or do they blow it? They end up blowing it, right? And it's because if I was making 60,000 a year and I could not manage my money at 60,000 a year, and now I won 60 million in the lottery, do you think just overnight I'm going to magically be able to manage 60 million if I was unable to manage 60,000? No. It's the same thing in your school. And this was a mistake that I made. I was like, oh, well, when we're bigger, I'll get better at the math. And it's like, well, if I get better at the math now, I'm going to get bigger faster. For me, I'm like Miss Jennifer here. My favorite part is the numbers, because they don't lie. It's black and white, right? And they tell a story. I hope that if you have one major takeaway, it's this. For some of you, I shared that screen and said, plug these numbers in. And some of you just didn't do it because you don't have access to it. How can you run your business without knowing exactly where it's at? And how can we make it better in the next year if we don't know exactly where it's at? Okay. So I hope that is a takeaway for you. Now that you see your current snapshot of where you're at, okay, I would love you to take a couple of minutes and just think about the annual revenue that you want to be at in 2026, okay? What the active count is, and most importantly, why. Why? Maybe it's I'm in debt and I need to pay off some credit cards. Maybe it's there's a new car that I want. Maybe it's we want to move into a bigger house. Maybe it's I have team members that I want to provide more opportunities to. Why? So take a couple of seconds. What is the annual revenue goal? And this is important because when we go to the app, you're going to be plugging these numbers in. What's the active count you're aiming for? And then why? Same thing. Once you're done, put the word done in the chat. Another 30 seconds, guys. Thank you for those of you that are dropping the word done in there. Okay. Awesome. Could you guys hear the music, by the way? I didn't know if I was sharing that or not. Not? Okay, cool. Sometimes got to set the environment a little bit. All right. Before I drop the link, I want to walk you through how to use this. Okay. So just pay attention for a couple of, and I updated it since I posted it yesterday because I got some feedback from Mr. Metzger and he was like, you really should have an ROI in there. So This is an app that we built it off of this really cool platform called Base 44. It is built off of what's called vibe coding, where you can kind of just talk to the AI like you're having a conversation. You tell it what you want to build, and then it builds it out. And it's just absolutely wild with somebody like me, zero coding experience, zero app building experience at all. And I built this out. So it's just really cool to see where we're headed and the access of the resources that we're going to have in the future. So you're going to start at the top with whatever that annual revenue goal was. So let's say you want to be at $400,000. Okay. As you plug it in, it will tell you, well, then your monthly revenue target is going to be 33,333. Then what you're going to do is you're going to put in that average student value, right? You take your revenue, divide it by your active count. That gives you your average student value. Okay. So let's say in this case, the school's average student value was 185. So this is going to tell you, in order to hit that 400,000 annual revenue goal with $185 student value, that means you need 181 active students. Okay. Then we're going to go down to the monthly student churn and enrollments. And then you're just going to put, what is your current number of students? So let's say in this example, this person's current number of students is 110. And then you put your churn rate. So this is the percentage of students that you are losing every single month. The average in the industry is 5%. If you're at 4, great. If you're at 3, stellar. If you're Mr. Sweeney, he asked Santa to bring him a 2% churn. Churn is going to happen, guys. There's no business in the world that has 0% churn. Okay. You're going to lose clients, but we want to mitigate that as much as possible. So let's say in this particular example, this person has a 5% churn. They're on average, right? And you could see, let's say if they were at a 9% churn, well, it's going to show you how many students you are losing per month. Okay. So you plug in your churn. It's going to tell you the students that you're losing per month, the monthly growth needed in order to hit that active count. And now it tells you that means you need 12 new students a month because it's going to replace the churn and it takes into consideration the growth that you want. Okay. Hopefully everybody's following me so far. And again, this is why it's so important that you know your numbers. Okay. Then you're going to go down here and you're going to do lead generation required. Okay. I recommend if you are around that 50, 70, 80 that I talked about earlier, 50% of the leads converting into appointments, 70% of the appointments showing, 80% are closing. If I look at my lead to new student conversion ratio from lead to new student, that's a 28%. Okay, so if you are hitting that 50, 70, 80, you're just going to leave this at 28%. And then it's going to tell you that's how many leads that I need. If I'm at a 28% conversion, in order for me to get those 12 new students, I need 43 leads. Do you think that is maybe helpful in figuring out your marketing plan for the year? Of course it is. Okay, then we're going to go down and we're going to see, well, okay, how much money do I need to spend in order to get those 43 new leads? Now we're talking about digitally here, okay? So let's say you are averaging a $20 cost per lead. This is going to tell you if you need those 43, that means your monthly marketing budget for your ad spend needs to be $860. And then it tells you the cost of the acquisition. So each one of those 12 students is going to cost me $163. Let me ask you in the chat, would you pay $163 to get a new student? Yes or no? Every day of the week and twice on Sunday, right? We then take it a little bit of a step further here, and we look at the return on investment. Now, this is a number that your CRM should be able to show you, and it's your average student retention. Does anybody know, if you do like extra thumbs up, on average, how long are your students staying with you? Does anybody know that? They've maybe been able to pull that out of their CRM. I know Spark, this is a metric that they will give you. Ours 11 and a half, 18 to 24, 6 to 9, 22, 11 months. So let's just use that example of 11 months, okay? So you plug that in and it's going to tell you that the student lifetime value, so that one student, if they stay with me at that student value for 11 months is worth $2,035. And that means the marketing ROI is 1,148. Now, I know some of you use agency services. Maybe you're using GrowPro and you have our Facebook ads and our concierge, which is 1,097. So this is also taking into consideration not just the ad spend, but also the cost of paying an agency. Now, if you're not paying an agency, you could just put 0, and obviously your marketing ROI is going to increase, but your time ROI isn't going to increase because you're the one that's doing it. Okay. So maybe you're paying a marketing agency a flat fee of $1,000. You would put that in. And then at the bottom, what it's going to tell you is that it's just going to give you an overview of your annual revenue goal, your new students needed annually, the total amount of leads that you need annually, and then your annual marketing budget. Now, it's going to take the agency fee as well as the ad spend, and it'll also tell you the percentage of revenue that is going to your marketing. So in this example, 5.5% of their revenue is going to marketing, which is actually on the lower end. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and drop this URL in there and go ahead and click it. And I'm going to put some music back on, and I want you guys do the best you can with the data that you have, but I want you to run through one by one. Where are you trying to be based off of the exercise that we did in the workbook? All right. Put that music on. And then once you're done, just drop the word done in there. Okay. Oh, when I do that, I stop the music. I can't. I gotta keep the jams going. My bad. Input those numbers, guys, because I'm going to ask you a follow-up question. Thank you, Miss Jen and Miss Shelley. If you're wondering how come they're done so quickly, it's because they have these stats on hand. Right? Thank you, Mr. Lawrence, Miss Rachel. For those of you that are just popping on, this is the link to what we are going through right now. Go ahead and bookmark this, guys. This is a good exercise to kind of walk your team through as well, if you have team members that are responsible in helping you with marketing too. Thank you, Mr. Morales. Thank you, Mr. Ramirez. Okay. Any takeaways from doing that? You can drop it in the chat, or if you want to unmute, either or. But I'd love to hear just maybe a takeaway, maybe an aha. Man, I didn't realize that our lifetime value was this amount. Or maybe the takeaway is I need to have a better handle on my stats. Okay. Can I email this link? Yeah, 100%. You can send that link out. It's a free thing that we are offering on this webinar. I have more mathing to do. I need to track even more details with leads. Found out we can spend more on ads. Yeah. This is helpful. What I kind of look at it is it's giving you the number that if you put this amount in the slot machine, this is the amount that's going to come out. All right. And that's just if your stats are accurate, right? If the stats aren't accurate, then it's not. What is your average cost per lead? Yeah. So however much you are, it depends if you want to do it by channel, right? If you're looking at like your cost per lead for Facebook ads, well, then you would take how much you spent on Facebook ads and divide it by the amount of leads you got. And that would give you a cost per lead. If you're interested in knowing maybe your cost per lead across all marketing channels, maybe you do like rack cards in local businesses and you donate to the PTO and then you also do Google ads, well, then you would just take the amount of money that you put towards your marketing and divide it by the amount of leads that you generated for that month. I'm actually a fan of doing it that way because attribution in 2025 is very, very difficult to figure out, right? I used that shoulder pain example earlier. I first found them with a Facebook ad, but then I went to their website. Then I opted in and started getting their emails. And then I saw their Black Friday deal. Well, it took all of those touch points for me to become a client, right, of theirs, for me to become a customer. And it's not like operating a school like it was in the 90s where you really just had like yellow pages, referrals, and like lead boxes, right? I mean, if you just think of today, there's just so many more marketing strategies. So I'm a fan of kind of putting it all under an umbrella. It's also easier to track that way. I think most business owners aren't on that level to look at it at a per channel. If you have the data to do that, then, feel free. Okay. Need to up the email and SMS game for sure. Need to work on attrition. Had most numbers, which is amazing to me. Not sure how to do lead numbers. Okay, cool. Well, hopefully it was eye-opening and maybe some good ways and maybe some not so good ways. But for the majority of you, if you didn't have that data, like I said earlier, I want that to be one of your number one takeaways. Okay, so now that we have looked at where we were at for 2025, now that we've set the game plan of where we want to be for 2026, and we know, okay, this is how much I can put towards marketing. This is going to be for the ad spend. This is going to be for the agency. This is the percentage of the revenue. And just so everybody knows, the SBA, Small Business Administration, recommends a 10% marketing budget. All right. So if your school is doing 20,000, then 2,000 would go to marketing. Okay. And that's really just to have like slow growth. If you're looking for hockey stick growth, then that number is going to go up 15, some cases even 20%, depending on what your goals are. Okay. All right. Let me go back to the keynote and let's get into some more of the content. So we are going to go through what I believe, is the model for accelerated growth. I think we all want growth, but you want accelerated growth. Is that shared for multi-locations? If your location is maybe 2-3 miles away, I think there might be an argument that there could be some overlap, but that would not be, right? Mr. Lawrence, do you pay 2 rents? I know you do, right? Do you pay 2 electric bills? I know you do, right? You should have 2 separate marketing budgets, unless, again, and I don't believe your schools are that close to each other, or they are. Okay, well then there could be an argument there for that. All right. Okay, so we're going to start with the accelerated growth model. How are we feeling, guys? Can you give me a 1 in the chat if you're finding value? And you could still give me a 1 if you're not finding value. Just boost up my ego here today. There we go. I love it. Okay. So we're going to talk about driving leads, maximizing conversions, and optimizing your results. Okay. So let's start with the driving leads and what has changed. We touched on this with Google earlier. Thank you, Mr. Wilkerson. Before, on Google, you could show up in the ads, in the 3-pack, and in the search engine results page. Now you can show up at the top in AI. Will there be a recording? Yes, we will send out the recording, Chris. Appreciate it. So 4 places that you can show up: AI, ads, 3-pack, and the search engine results page. So get a lot of questions around this whole AEO, answer engine optimization, and GEO, generative engine optimization. And this is just getting your school recommended in the answer when somebody asks Google or ChatGPT. I think we would all want that, right? We want more visibility regardless of where they are searching. Okay. And this is, again, just going to be a big focus going into 2026. So, what does that kind of look like? Well, I asked, what is the best martial arts school in Tampa? And this is what it popped out: Gracie Pack MMA, Elevate Martial Arts West Chase, Impact Martial Arts, Heimberger's MMA, which, crazy enough, Heimberger's was the Taekwondo school that I trained at when back in the 90s. They rebranded to MMA, trying to get up with the times. It was a Junior Institute of Taekwondo, but I just thought that was kind of cool that they populated as well. And then Martial Arts Advantage, right? So I just want you to think about, in the past, this wasn't there. These AI overviews didn't pop up. So typically at the top, you would just see Google ads, then you would see the 3-pack, and then you would see the search engine results page. So if I'm a parent and I'm looking at this, I now have the information that I was interested in without even having to click into anywhere else or scroll down. It's right at the top. Okay. So this is an example of what is being rolled out. And here's another example of me asking ChatGPT, what is the best martial arts school in Tampa? And it gave a list. And at the top, it was kind of cool to see my brother from another mother, Matt Arroyo, up here as Gracie Tampa South. Okay. So you're just going to start seeing more and more of these types of results. And you're probably asking, well, Cris, I want to show up in ChatGPT. I want to show up in the AI overview. So how do you do it? Okay. Here are 7 core signals that are going to help drive this AEO and GEO. And there's also SEO, right? And SEO is what's been around for many, 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 many years, which is the search engine optimization. And this is really what we're transitioning to, is this AEO and GEO. And what I do want to say is it's fairly new. So, there's some research out on it, but not, there's just still some things that are up in the air. But these are the 7 things that I would highly recommend to do in order to increase your chances of showing up in the AI searches. And the first one is just clear entity definition. What does that mean? AI needs to know who you are, what you teach, who you serve, and where you're located. Who are you? What do you teach? Who do you serve? Where you're located. Okay. So every one of the major pages on your website should clearly state that. Your school name, the city or neighborhood that you're in, the programs that you offer, the age ranges, and who your ideal customer is, right? So, maybe in your case, your ABC Martial Arts is a kids-focused martial arts school in Clearwater, Florida, specializing in Taekwondo and life skills training for ages 4 to 12. This really comes down to knowing who your ideal avatar is, right? Prior to me selling Gracie Pack, if an MMA fighter came in and said, I want to be a UFC fighter, I want to be an MMA, like that's what, I'm not taking them on as a student. Why? Because we were 95% kids. Well, now that Billy Q, who's a UFC fighter, bought Gracie Pack, if he has an MMA fighter come in and say, I want to make it to the UFC, he's taking them on. Right? He shifted the avatar of the school. So you need to know who you are attracting, and AI wants to know who it is that you serve. So that sentence, right? ABC Martial Arts is kids-focused martial arts school, Clearwater, Florida, specializing in Taekwondo and life skills training for ages 4 to 12. You need to know that, and that needs to be on your website. It needs to be in your Google business profile. So having this clear entity definition, because if a parent is asking, like, I'm looking for a martial arts, a Taekwondo school for my 7-year-old, well, it's going to read through my website. And if I have matching description of that, that is going to increase my likelihood that it's going to showcase me. Okay. The second thing you need to do is question-based content, because AI pulls from direct answers to real questions on your website and with your GBP. So, being able to answer questions like, what age should a child start martial arts, or how much do martial arts classes cost per month? If you have not written that blog on your website, it's the #1 blog that you should write, because it's one of the top questions that parents want to know, and adults too. How much is this going to cost, right? So in your website, you should have some frequently asked questions pages, but also this is where your blog content is going to shine through as well. Okay. Number three, local authority signals. So AI is going to trust businesses that are constantly mentioned and also that have real reviews. And we're going to talk about real reviews here in a second, okay? These local authority signals, part of it is your Google business profile being 100% complete. So if you're logged into the Google account that is connected to your Google business profile, you'll be able to see the completion. The goal is to have 100%. It's a green circle. Maybe you're at 80%, maybe you're at 60%, but you need to make sure it's at 100% complete. And the name, address, and phone number is consistent everywhere. I've been preaching this for years, right? Gracie Pack is on Linebaugh Avenue. Maybe you're on an avenue. Maybe you're in a suite. Are you spelling out avenue? Is it AVE? Is it AVE period? Is it STE for suite, or is it spelt out? I know it seems so silly, but that's how it's reading the data that is online. And if it's seeing different addresses because it's not exactly the same, it's going to decrease your likelihood of being recommended. Okay. Number four, reviews that actually say something. Look, we all have those reviews where somebody just went in and they just gave us a star rating. Okay. Words matter more than the star count because AI actually reads the reviews to understand who your school is best for and what problems that you solve. So look, if I see a 5-star Google review come through, says great place, 5 stars, it's like, okay, that's cool. But when you see a Google review come in that says, my 7-year-old daughter gained confidence and focus after training there for 3 months, the instructors are patient and structured and they care and they check in on how she, like that is a review. That is gold for AI. All right. So this is a way that you can coach parents when you're asking for reviews, is to ask them just to be really specific about the program that they're in, the result that occurred, the age of their child, right? They don't need to put the name or anything like that, but reviews that actually say something are incredibly important, okay? The fifth one is really, to me, this is something that if you have a website provider that they should be taking care of, which is the structured content, okay? And this is just basically how the crawlers out on the internet read your website, all right? And this is one of the reasons why I recommend using a company like Market Muscles, because they structure the content on your website in a way that makes it easy for AI and all of the crawlers to read, okay? Number 6, branded searches. So AI heavily favors when people are mentioning you, right? One of the coolest things that we ever did, we used this company called Sweat Angels. And what Sweat Angels was actually developed by a CrossFit company. And they sent like a little TV. It's like a little screen that you could put in your school, and it uploaded the new information every month. But they worked with a different charity. And basically, every month it would say, for every 10 check-ins, we'll donate a pair of shoes. Or for every 20 check-ins, we'll donate, a pound of dog food. And what was really cool is it got all of our parents really excited about checking in on Facebook's, on social media, so all their friends could see, because they knew that it was serving a greater cause, right? So encouraging, and I'm not saying you have to go that route, but it's just an example of like getting people to mention you, right? So during graduation ceremonies, prompting the parents, please take pictures, please tag us, please post it on our Google business profile, that user-generated content. When people are mentioning you in Facebook groups, hopefully you're in community Facebook groups. When people are mentioning your school, that is something that the AI will read. I don't know if I got any Reddit fans in here, but AI also looks at Reddit threads. And if somebody's asking about a martial arts school in this particular area, okay? So we want to look for those different mentions. The more mentions we can get online, the greater the chance that we are going to get recommended. And then finally, just consistency across all platforms, just making sure not just the name, address, and phone number, but there's consistency on your scheduling and the cities that you're referencing and the age ranges, right? If you start them at 3, we want everywhere to say that you start them at 3, not some places that say 3 or 4 or 5, okay? So these are 7 core signals that really will drive AI to increase the likelihood of you getting mentioned, okay? Thumbs up if that makes sense. Good. All right. And yes, Jennifer, Mr. Vithill hit the head on the nail. So you can do private browse. You can do like incognito mode inside of your computer. Okay. All right, guys. Let's kind of shift the conversation to Google paid ads. So Google paid ads are really your today buyers. These are people that are searching for martial arts near me. They have an intent. They know what they want. And this will typically show up near the top. In some cases, the AI overview will happen first and it'll be underneath. This is an example. I did a search of martial arts near me, and these are the schools that were showed up as sponsored, meaning they are running Google ads. And the thought process is that most people have the attention span of less than a goldfish. They're not going to spend a lot of time scrolling. People are going to click on the first thing that they see. All right. So you have your Google ads here. So Mr. Wilkerson, this is the example of the Google ads. This is exactly what they look like. You can see they're not as visually appealing or creative. It's more heavy on the search terms and the words. Google leads are going to typically cost more than Facebook leads, but they're going to be a higher quality of lead. Okay. And that's why they cost more. We also have the ability to show up in the 3-pack, and a newer feature that has rolled out over the last 2 years is you can now have your Google ad show up in that 3-pack. Why was it called the 3-pack? Because typically there were only three businesses that would show up there. Now with ads, you can actually get in here as well. Now, here's the thing with the 3-pack. Great question. I believe it's Mrs. Vihill. The location of where the person is standing is going to play a role in whether you show up or not, right? So if somebody's 45 minutes away and they're, Googling Taekwondo near me, then you're not going to show up. So the location that they are standing at plays a role in this, but the optimization of your Google business profile, the amount of reviews, the recency of the reviews, the search terms that you're using in your Google business profile, and also the search engine optimization of your website, all of that plays a role into whether or not you're going to show up in the 3-pack. But you do need to understand the location of where that person is standing drastically changes the results that you're going to see here in the 3-pack. Okay, great question. Now we have Google Business Profile, okay? We don't have enough time for me to go through every single one of these, but I had a text message from Miss Fackrell earlier today. She's been a Grow Pro client for many, many years. I'm actually going to visit her and doing their EOS annual here in a couple of weeks, and she was like, hey, is this going to be worth my time today? We're already a client. Is this just for prospects? And I said, I think anytime you get to hang out with me for 2 hours, it's worth it. I'm kidding. I didn't say that. But I said the one thing that I was giving everybody were these checklists, right? And the checklist is something that I would go through to just ask yourself, are we doing these things in each one of these digital marketing lanes, okay? EOS is the Entrepreneurial Operating System. If you want to learn more about it, there's a great book called Traction by Gino Wickman, okay? So what I want you guys to do is to go through, when you're setting okay, well, what do we, Billy Q, he texted me a couple of days ago. He's the guy that bought my school, Gracie Pack MMA. And he was like, man, I really want to level up, 2026. We got big goals. What are some of the little things that we can do? This is an example of going through the checklist to see, okay, I got the correct business name. My primary category is martial arts. My hours, phone, and website is updated. So I want you to go through this as a checklist to see how optimized is your Google business profile, okay? So this is going to be a great resource, and I did this for all of the major platforms for you, so you can just, maybe you have 70% of the way there, and there's a couple of extra things that you can do to get 100% of the way there, okay? Biggest takeaway on your Google business profile, though, besides just having it at 100% optimized, you need to get frequent reviews. All right. You got to have the frequency of the reviews. I appreciate that, Miss Jennifer. And thank you, Miss Shelley. Awesome. Okay. Has anybody ever seen this? The people also ask box. Ever seen that when you're Googling something? And it's down here, right here. Don't look at this Yelp thing, but down here. When you search for something, sometimes it has this people also ask. And it's just telling you, these are the other questions that people who have searched for what you're searching for, these are other questions that they ask. And the reason why I bring this up is just to highlight how far down organic search engine results are now. Before, you just had Google ads, the 3-pack, and then the organic links. Now you have the AI overview. Now you have ads in the 3-pack. And now you also have to deal with this people also ask. Okay. And then we get to the organic results. So I say this just to highlight that this is one of the reasons why people are focused so heavily on optimizing their Google business profile and it kind of acting as the first touch of their website, and why you would potentially want to do Google ads as well. Because your organic site, it's a couple of scrolls down now, where before you would be able to see it without even scrolling. Okay. So I am going to overload my marketing team, but they are ready for it. If you want to get a ranking report to see where you rank on Google, depending on where the person is standing, we're going to do this for free. Now, full transparency, this costs us money. Every time we run a report, this costs us money. So this is one of my free giveaways. If you're a GrowPro client, you can do this as well. Now, it's going to ask you some questions. You need to fill out the questions, because how else are we going to have the information in order to do the ranking report? Okay. But this is really powerful. These are some examples of clients that on the left-hand side is what their rankings were prior to utilizing GrowPro. And on the right-hand side, what it looks like now. So what this is, if you see right here in the center here, that little pinpoint, that's where the school is located. And what we'll usually do is use the terms martial arts near me. Okay. Can't see, make it. That's as big as I can make it. I'm sorry. I think you'll understand the concept here. It's more about the colors than anything else. So this is where this person's school is. If somebody was standing inside of their school and Googled martial arts near me, they were ranking number 20. How many people do you think are going to scroll all the way down to the 20th position? They're just not, right? So then they hired us and they utilize our Google Business Amplifier program. And within 90 days, look at their rankings now. When you're standing in their school, they're now number 4 or 5. If you go out a mile, they're number 1. Another mile, number 1. So each one of these circles is a mile to the north, south, east, or west. In a very short period of time, we were able to take them from the bottom of Google towards the top. Here's another example. You could see at this time, this person, if they were standing inside of their school right here, they were number 1. But if you went a mile to the west, they were number 9. Just 1 mile, guys. Mile to the east, number 8. They used our Google Business Amplifier program, and with 90 days, they were now showing either up number 1 or number 2 within 1 to 2 miles around their school. If there are houses within 1 to 2 miles around your school and somebody is Googling martial arts near me, do you want to show up at the top? Of course you do, because most people choose convenience, right? We all have those students that'll drive an hour to see us, but it's not the bulk, okay? And then here's just another example of a client that we worked with. And these are just before and afters, right? So if you're on our Google Business Amplifier program, we will, when you start, take this. So that link that I dropped, if you want your heat map, we're going to send you what it looks like on the left-hand side completely for free. All right. So go ahead, click that ad, click it, fill it out. And my marketing team is ready to rock and roll with pulling these heat maps for you. And if you're a current client, feel free to do it as well. Okay. So that is the Google business profile and your heat map ranking. We're going to shift gears now to talk about Meta. Probably have a love-hate relationship with social media as a business owner. I know there are days where I just wish I didn't have to log on, but I also know it's a form of gaining traffic for my business, okay? Same thing, I provided you with a checklist of when you look at your Facebook business page specifically, you can go through and make sure you have all of these things updated, from how the page is set up to making sure links. This is just such an important thing to do at the end of the year, right? Just making sure all the links are still accurate. Maybe you changed your CRM and the booking link is different and you just forgot to update it on social because there's just a million other things to deal with. Okay. So I want you to go through this. It's very, very simple explanation. Are you doing these things? And this will give you a good understanding of where you're at organically for Meta. Okay. Talk about paid ads. Yes or no? Are you running Facebook paid ads? Put it in the chat. Let me know. Yes or no? All right. So the majority of you, yes. Cool. So this is relevant. And if you're not, it's still relevant. So what you need to understand is this year, there was a dun 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 algorithm update called Andromeda. Okay. And it started rolling out about mid-year, and now it's starting to hit all of the accounts. So it wasn't like overnight all the accounts were affected. They start rolling it out. What Andromeda basically is the algorithm is now utilizing AI more, right? If you've seen the amount of money that Zuckerberg has invested in AI with Meta, it's insane, right? The kind of bad news for business owners is that let me start with this. The good news is that it makes targeting a little bit easier because they want you to use AI, right? Because it's tracking everything based off of this thing that's in our pocket, right? And if you don't think it's listening to us, I'm telling you it is, okay? So the audience aspect and the location targeting is now easier to do on Facebook, but what they made more difficult is it requires more assets than ever. So what do I mean by assets? Pictures and videos, and really just more creatives. We have a client. His name is Renard Beatty. He was one of my very first clients that signed up at the Super Show back in 2019. And he's in Atlanta, Georgia. And this was just one of those accounts that when we first launched it, he was getting like $2, $3, $4 leads consistently, just getting lead after lead after lead. And, this is back in 2019, 2020. And it was just running the same creative. It was just like this one picture. He has red mats, so it kind of pops, when you're like scrolling through the app. And, he was always asking like, hey, are you going to change the ad? Are you going to change the ad? And I was like, are you happy with the results? And he's like, hell yeah, I'm happy with the results. And it's like, no, we're not going to change the ad because it's still working, right? And we ran this ad for like a year. That doesn't happen anymore, okay? Ads fatigue faster than ever now, which just means you have to produce more quality content. And they don't just want to see the same thing over and over and over again. They want to see different types of content, okay? So if you are running ads going into 2026, one of the things that's got to be on your marketing calendar is when you're setting time aside to take those pictures and to film those videos. Okay, because you're going to need more creatives. Okay. And if you don't, then, you're going to be leaning on stock images or AI images. And, sometimes they work okay, but a higher quality lead is going to come from a higher effort on your end, which is providing authentic images and videos. Okay. You really need to have a minimum of a $25 per day budget, which would be about a $750 ad spend for the month. And one of the things that is just the reality of Facebook ads, and let me just ask you guys, have you ever had a Facebook lead come through and either one, you can't get a hold of them, or two, you do get a hold of them and they're like, I don't know what the heck you're talking about. I didn't opt in. Has that happened to any of you? Yes or no in the chat? Okay. Yes. And that is what I expected. Okay. The reality is, there is going to be a portion of your Facebook leads that are trash. There's just no other way to put it. I'm just being completely frank with you. But I look at it as having a dump truck worth of dirt that I have to sift through, and there's going to be gold in there, versus having a little bucket of dirt. So I just need you to have that expectation. And there's nothing that are there things that we can do to help with that? 100%, right? So when we launch ads for clients, we always put qualifying questions in there. We make it so that they have to type something in, right? So if you're running your own ads and you're doing lead forms, which is what Facebook wants you to do, they don't want you sending people off site, is you got to make sure you have qualifying questions. Another thing that you can do if you're continuing to have lead quality issues is SMS verification, meaning when they type in their phone number, you can set it up so that they get a text. And if the text goes through, it verifies that it's an accurate number. And if it doesn't, it won't even populate as a lead. Okay. You just need to understand there is going to be a percentage of the leads that just aren't good. It's just the reality with running Facebook ads. Now, it shouldn't be the majority of them are like that. It should be a small percentage, but it's just the reality of running Facebook ads. And having that follow up with the speed to lead, right? I said it earlier, money loves speed, and that consistency. If you don't have the ability to follow up with the lead immediately, you shouldn't even be running ads on Facebook. Okay. That's just the reality of today's world. Okay. So you've got Meta paid ads. And I got a checklist in here for those of you that are running your own ads. If you have, GrowPro doing it, we're doing all of these things for you. But if you're running your own ads, this is a checklist just to verify that all of the setup is done properly. Okay. Shifting to Google paid ads. I told you we had a lot to go over today. So I appreciate everybody sticking with me. We got about 30 minutes left. You guys are doing great. We touched on it earlier about Google being today buyers. Kind of look at Facebook being like future buyers and Google being today buyers, okay? These are high intent leads that are ready to enroll because they're going to Google saying martial arts near me, okay? The Google paid ads allow you to dominate the top of the page, right? Businesses go to die at the bottom of the Google page. People aren't scrolling, okay? When you're creating your Google paid ads, it's very important to focus on the location that you are at, your schedule, and the different keywords that people are utilizing. And with Google ads, you really only pay when somebody clicks on the ad. Okay, so that's one of the metrics that we look at is how much is the click. And depending on where you're at, you might have a 50-cent click, which is phenomenal. You might have a $2 or $3 click, not lead, guys, click, just to get them to click to go to a landing page or go to your website. Okay. Why the discrepancy? Because it just depends on how much competition you have in your area. And if you have more schools that are running ads, it's going to cost you more to get those clicks. Okay. So that's why the leads are typically more expensive and they're lower. Same thing, gave you a checklist. If you are running your own Google ads, this is a great checklist to go through just to make sure that it's populated properly. Okay. This is an example of a client that uses our Facebook ads as well as our concierge. This is Grandmaster Bryce from Bryce's ATA Martial Arts. They average typically around 20 new members and have about a $750 ad spend, right? So I just kind of wanted to like showcase what is possible with that. And they use not just our ad services, but also our concierge, right? This was pretty cool. This is Omar Kadi. He opened up a school in New York, and New York it's kind of a tough market. There's a few states out there, New York, New Jersey, California, Colorado. Colorado is a hard state to run ads in. And we compile all this data. You could ask me like, Chris, what's the average cost per lead in a specific state? I can tell you. If we have clients in a specific city, I can tell you. We actually built out a software where we can see all of that, which is helpful for us to see how we're doing, right? Okay, well, if the average is around this, we want to make sure that new clients are around that as well. But this particular client, they hired us, and their goal for the year was to end at 200 active count. By June, they were already at 220. Right? So like we helped them surpass their goal halfway through the year and they still had 6 months left. So in your workbook, one of the things I want you to just kind of marinate on is how well are you doing in these three areas? Organically, Meta ads, and Google ads. And think of it like a traffic light system, right? Green, we're really solid. Yellow, we're red, not so much, okay? And as you go through these checklists, that'll give you a good understanding of where you're at with each one of these, okay? All right, the biggest part of the section was driving leads. This is going to go a little bit faster with maximizing conversions, okay? It starts with your database. When I sold Gracie Pack to Billy, there were probably over 12,000 leads inside of the CRM. Okay. Now, are all 12,000 of those leads a gold mine? No, not leads from 10 years ago, right? But the leads from the last year, if you aren't reactivating your leads that are coming through, you are really missing out. And it's not just leads, it's also former students. Okay. So one of the things that I would do going into 2026 is pull a list of every single student you lost in 2025. Go through the list to make sure you want to invite them back, because not all students we want back, right? Some of them are like, oh, okay, I'm not too sad that they quit. So go through that list and send a win back email and text message campaign. What do you say? Well, if you're a GrowPro client, we'll do this for you. It's included. But you could just use ChatGPT to come up with the emails and the text messages to blast out. But January is a great opportunity for you to reach out to all of your former students and invite them back, okay? Same thing, doing the cold leads, okay? I would wait after the Christmas holiday. Many of you are closed, so I wouldn't do it today and then like next week you're closed. That would be silly, right? So consider the timing of it. You also need to have ongoing nurture sequences. So when somebody opts in, they're consistently getting quality information from you, and not just buy my stuff, buy my stuff, buy my stuff, New Year's offer, Valentine's offer, spring break offer. You should be providing them value. But around once a quarter, doing these database reactivation campaigns are going to help those leads that opted in but weren't ready to buy. Okay. One of the things that I like to do when we send out the text message blast is have them reply with a specific word, right? So, hey, reply with New Year to get access to this. And then everybody that replies, oh, they're one step further in the customer journey. Okay. Cris, we did Google ads, had to switch cards due to someone getting into our account. Trying to get our account back has been hard. It is. Unfortunately, Google and Facebook, if there were awards for worst support, they would probably win it, and I would probably put paychecks right after them. If there's something we can help with, Miss Hepburn, feel free to reach out, and I can connect you with somebody on our team. Okay. So here's kind of an example of what this would look like. I know, Billy, I'm sorry. I gifted paychecks to Billy when he bought my school. We have been really happy with Gusto. So if anybody is not happy with their payroll provider, potentially check out Gusto, right? So maybe you have like 3,000 leads and you send this out, right? Hey, Emily, it's Coach Billy from Gracie Pack. Been having an awesome 4-week break the screen challenge for only $99. Reply New Year to this text. And then they reply New Year, right? Something like 3,000 leads could generate 100 replies, 40 booked appointments, 22 trials sold. These are like averages that we see when we blast these database reactivation to clients that have a lead list like this. Okay. So this should be something that on a quarterly basis that you are looking into. Okay. Next up is the reputation. And we've touched on it with Google reviews, but there's also other areas for you to improve your reputation. Make sure you're systemizing these Google reviews, guys. The challenge is a really great thing to kind of help you get a boost, but having a QR code, having an NFC card, which all that is somebody taps their phone to it and it pulls up your Google business profile and they can leave a review. Having it in your workflow. So when somebody becomes a new student, maybe 30 days after, prompting them to provide a review. And I really like asking how everything is going before we ask for a review, because if they're not happy, then you're probably not going to get a great review. Mat chats. Really, anytime you're hosting big events like tournaments, this is a really great time when people are at a high, right? Graduation ceremonies, board breaking challenges. You've got to systemize it so your team is consistently talking about it. And the one little tip I want to give, anytime a parent comes up to you and tells you something positive, like, oh, man, Johnny, he just got, his report card, he got straight A's, and he also got 0 behavior marks. That's never happened before. Thank you so much. That is your key. That is when you should ask, oh my gosh, thank you so much for sharing that with me. I love to see that and to hear that. Would you mind sharing that on Google? I think there's a lot of parents that would get a lot of value out of that. And you got to train your team on doing that. Anytime they're hearing that positive reinforcement, that's our opportunity to ask, okay? Aim for those triple digits, guys, okay? They also have Facebook recommendations, so you can get Facebook to recommend you, but video testimonials. You want to talk about helping to improve your reputation? Video testimonials. Here's a cool little ninja trick that we did. Does anybody do student of the month in their school? Yes or no? Do you do a student of the month? You highlight them. All right, got some yeses, some nos. So I feel like this was pretty genius what we did. When somebody won student of the month, we told them we were going to interview them. Now, how do you think those kids and parents felt when we say, we're going to interview you? They get super pumped and excited. We're not saying we're going to ask for a testimonial. We're going to interview you. And then we ask questions about, why did you choose this place? What was happening in your life? What results have you seen? And then you chop it up, and now you have a video testimonial. So for any of you that do student of the month, every single one of you can make it as a part of being student of the month. We're going to interview you. And now you have 12 video testimonials every single year. Okay? That's your reputation. And I have a checklist as well on all the different places for you to be aiming and improving your reputation. All right? Follow up. Man, for some of you, lead flow is not the problem. For some of you, it's follow up, right? There's some stats out there about like 50 to 60% of inbound leads are just, they're not converted due to lack of follow-up. People need more touch points than ever before. They need the convenience of being able to text in, right? So this is where your automation comes in. We build this out for all of our clients. This is an example of what's called a workflow. So when somebody opts in, these are all of the different things that are going to happen no matter what. I don't need a human for this to happen, right? They opt in, they get an automated text message, right? So we build out these workflows for all of our clients, okay? And there's really three aspects that you have to understand with follow-up: the AI, the automation, and the human touch. And I talked earlier about the importance of not just pulling the trigger on something because it's more efficient. It has to be just as effective. And that's why I like that 9 p.m. to 9 a.m. AI employee that can help book appointments for you, okay? Here's an example of an appointment that got booked through Gracie Pack. This person opted in during prime time, all right? Does anybody get really busy after 5 p.m. in your school with maybe new leads coming in, classes going on, you're worried about customer service, parents want to buy this t-shirt or need to buy a new gi? The bot can go ahead and take over, right? And in this case, actually ended up booking the appointment, all right? So it's just an example. I gave you a checklist on if you are implementing AI and automation, these are the things to look through if you are implementing it. Yeah, 4 to 8 bar slam. How many attempts should we do for human touch without any contact? It really depends on your personal level of aggression. Has anybody ever put in their information for a mortgage loan online before? Anybody ever done that? Did your phone just like nonstop ring for the next couple of weeks? It's like, I mean, we bought a condo recently. I was getting over 50 calls a day. There's a certain level of aggressiveness that you have to decide where do you want to be based off of your values, right? I do like calling at least twice on the first day if you have that capability of them coming in, calling again on day 2 and then again on day 3, and then starting to space it out. Eventually, after 21 days, that lead is going to be classified as a cold lead. And when you then would follow up is anytime you have something you are going to push. Is anybody doing a New Year's offer? Let me just see, show of hands because I can see your face. You're doing a New Year's offer. Well, guess what? You now have a reason to reach out because you have a new offer, right? But most of us just don't sit down with that list and make dial after dial after dial after dial. And when you think of other industries, that is a standard. That is a standard, right? They have a sales team, they have setters, they have closers, and they sit there and they just dial and dial and dial. Okay. So I am a fan of twice at least on day 1, again on day 2, again on day 3. If you can stagger the times and not call all at the same time, because if you're calling at the same time each time and they're not available at that time, they can't pick up. And then spacing it out a couple of days. And then once you're past that 21 days, putting it in a list of this is just who we reach out to when we have a specific promotion. And it wouldn't just be an offer. Is anybody doing a community event in January? Maybe like a goal setting through board breaking. Anybody doing like a mass enrollment? that is a reason for you to pick up the phone and take all of the leads. And what you need to do is you got to start with the low hanging fruit. So you're going to start with all the leads from December. Then you go to November. Then you go to October. It's a big mistake I see a lot of schools make is they start with the leads from like a year ago. No, start with the ones that are the least cold. Okay. Hopefully that answers your question. And thank you, Mr. Hughes. I like my studio as well. All right, let's keep this party going. This is just kind of another screenshot of our chat AI bot, right? It's all kind of the tech that goes behind it. Human touch. It ain't going out of style, guys. I do believe eventually people are going to end up paying more to speak with humans than they are with AI. I truly believe it. There's just going to be a group of people that are so against AI. I wanted to provide you with some objectives and proper etiquette. And I'll be real, when school owners make calls through High Level, which is the CRM our clients use, it's recorded so we can hear it. And it's not just school owners, it's program directors as well. For those of you that do have program directors, my question to you, when's the last time you listened to one of their calls? And sometimes it's just not good, guys. It's just the reality of it. They're just not great on the phone. Okay. So if you don't have a script or a framework, I wanted to provide that. So it gave you the 4 objectives of an information phone call and also proper etiquette, but then also the actual phone script. I will die on this hill. Please do not answer the phone and say, "How can I help you?" Don't do it, because the only thing that they are going to ask is, "How much is it?" You need to take control of the conversation. It's a great day at Gracie Pack. This is Professor Cris. May I ask who I am speaking with? The only answer they can give me is their name. Okay? And it's just we don't train our team on these kind of things, or maybe you did it once, and maybe you're not listening to the calls, which you absolutely should be. Here is the checklist and what I would consider a really, really top-notch framework. Okay. One of the things that we have rolling out in Q1 that we're really excited to offer our Grow Pro clients are for every time a phone call is made through High Level. So your program directors, or maybe even you, and you are making these appointment setting calls, we're actually developing an AI that listens to the calls and rates the calls and will give you a points, like out of 100, and it'll rate you. So if you get a 90 to 100, it's an A. An 80 to a 90, it's a B. But more importantly, the AI tells you, where do you have room for improvement? Because that's one of the things about listening to the calls. Like, you as an owner, if you have a program director, I mean, do you really have time to sit there and listen to every single call? No. So this is something that we are going to be rolling out as a service to Grow Pro clients, where the AI transcribes it, and then at the end of the day, it sends you a report and an overview, because you're probably not going to read every single one of those, calls, feedback, but it'll give you an overview of all of the calls that had that day. So we're really excited about this, and you can expect to see it in Q1. So Miss Shelley, it actually already does. So we use this internally. We have about 170 clients using our concierge, and there's just no physical way for us to listen to every single call, but we know it's important. We do listen to calls. We do a game tape, but the AI helps us to keep a pulse on it. And it even checks for the agents, like, did they say we're calling on a recorded line? That's really important. If you are calling on a recorded line, there's some states that you have to say that, right? So we're using that internally, but yes, that would be something that would roll out to the client as well. All right, cool. I want you to rate yourself, database, reputation, and follow-up. How we doing? Or if we're not sending out database reactivation campaigns, it's a red. If we're not getting consistent Google reviews, it's a red. If we're not following up consistently, give yourself a pulse check there, okay? So this is another feature we have. Can you type the word Spark if you're a Spark client? I know we got a lot of My Studio clients out here too. I can't automate My Studio yet. It has to be done manually. So we're starting with Spark. But if you are a Spark client, this is an example of what we are rolling out Q1 as well. And it's an ROI revenue pull. How much would you like it if we sent you a report that said, hey, this is how much money you made. These are how many active students you have. These are how many of those active students GrowPro brought in. And this is your monthly recurring revenue from the students that we brought in. Pretty freaking cool, right? And this is a screenshot. We've been testing this on the back end. This was a really big project for us to build out. But what's going to end up happening is we can automate this. With My Studio, we have to manually pull the information, and it's just super labor intensive right now. So we're going to start with our Spark clients, and then this, and yes, 100, Miss Shelley, yes, 100% on market muscles. Steven's my best friend in the world, so we've already talked about this, and we'll have those capabilities as well, okay? So Miss Jennifer says it's super awesome. She was one of our guinea pigs. So it'll send you an email. And this particular example, this person has 4 schools. I wanted to block out their information just to respect their privacy, but it breaks down, this is how much came in, right? So in this example, they had $67,000 come in that month. They have 490 active students. 55 of the 490 are from GrowPro, which is bringing in $7,500 in recurring revenue every month. So now this client can say, okay, well, I'm paying GrowPro $1,500 and it brought in $7,500. Is that a good ROI? Yes, right? Can you manually do this right now in your CRM? Yeah, but you'd have to look at all of the tags of all of the leads that have GrowPro. Did it turn into? Then you got to calculate it. So we're just trying to automate this. Okay, so this is, again, so this was one of our rocks for Q4 to set it up and to beta test. And part of Q1 is to roll this out for our Spark clients. Okay, so we're really excited to do that. If you are interested in learning anything more about kind of anything that I'm dropping down, you want to pick it up, we offer a free marketing audit that you can do that, okay? Last up, guys, we've got 13 minutes. You guys are doing awesome. So your total spend, the planner that we went through earlier today gave you your total marketing spend, okay? If you're kind of under 5%, you're probably going to be plateaued just because you're only spending enough to keep up with the churn, all right? So if you just want to stay where you're at, then, usually 5% or less will be okay. If you want to start seeing more moderate growth or accelerated growth, then that percentage would need to go up. And just remember, what we did was just on your digital side. So you need to consider the additional ad spend, for internal and external marketing strategies as well. Yes, Mr. Carl, the slide deck will be provided. Okay. Conversion percentages. We touched on this earlier. This is so important, guys, to have your team or you track this in terms of the lead to appointment, appointment to show, and show to close. We want this done on a daily basis so that you can see, are we booking 50 percent of the leads that are coming in? Are 70% showing? Are we closing 80%? All right. And again, if you're a GrowPro client, there is a spreadsheet inside of the GrowPro Online Academy that you can access that will pump out the formulas for you. Okay. All right. The ROI. I do want to touch on this. We have this separate spreadsheet that we had been using for a while in terms of the return on investment. We used it in our actual sales discovery call. And it's kind of similar to the app that I showed you earlier, where you could plug in like how much you were spending, how many leads you wanted to get, and then it breaks down kind of month by month by month, how many new students, how much you would spend. And it also includes your churn rate, right? So this is just kind of a more old school way if you prefer to kind of plug it into a spreadsheet as opposed to the app. But the app that we went through earlier today did give you that ROI, all right? And if there's anybody that came in late, and guys, I want you to bookmark this because I think it's, like I said, it's something that you should show any team members that you have that are potentially responsible to help with marketing. there's that growth planner, and you can do the ROI inside of it. All right. Let me get to some of these questions. Show to close include trials sold. Ooh, this is a good one. What I believe that most schools are struggling with the most. Let me ask. Paid trials. Do you offer a paid trial of some sort, like a 2-week for 29, 4-week for 49? Yes or no? All right. So we got a lot of yeses here. A handful of no's. I'm a really big fan of never free. Mr. Morales feels very strongly about that, all caps, right? Um, I'm a big fan of what's kind of called like the invisible trial, where we offer a free one on one introductory lesson. I don't think anything builds rapport better than one on one, but I'm also not blind to not everybody has that feasibility. If you're a one man show doing one on ones on top of running schools, that's very difficult. If your school is very small and you don't have space to do them when classes are going on, that's very difficult. We typically offer a free one on one introductory lesson for the kids or a free class for the adults. We go through our 4-step enrollment process. And then if there's any objections, we would downsell a paid trial. Right. So, you're not ready to enroll on a 12-month program. Completely understand. We have a 2-week for 29, 4-week for 49, 5-class for 55, whatever paid trial model you like. I do like shorter paid trials. Not a big fan of something like for 6 weeks for 69. Those students get lost within the 6 weeks, and it's very difficult to stay on top of turning them into full enrollment. So I prefer a shorter trial. Personally, I like 2 weeks for 29. If you can include the uniform, awesome. We're a BJJ school, but for the kids, we used karate uniforms, mainly because one, they're more comfortable and easier to move around to, but also our cost was better on them. This is a very long-winded answer for Mr. Lawrence, but where I believe most schools that do offer paid trials have the most room for improvement is the conversion from the paid trial to the enrollment. And what I see time and time again, especially schools that use something like a 4-week or 5-week or 6-week paid trial, those students get lost in the mix. I prefer something shorter to convert them quicker. So that conversion of 80%, it just depends. Like, are you requiring them to buy the trial before they even step on the mat? Or are you so I see you saying no. So you're basically downselling that paid trial, right? I would want you to look at the data separately then. You need to see what is the conversion rate from free to enrollment and then from paid trial to enrollment, and look at them separate. Because I did this recently with a GrowPro client, and she gave me all of her stats, and the hole in the bucket was the paid trial to the enrollment. It wasn't lead to appointment. It wasn't appointment to show. It wasn't show to paid trial. It was paid trial to enrollment. And the reality is, you get really excited when we get paid trials. Do paid trials pay your rent? $29, $49 trials do not pay your rent. Okay. I want you to go ahead, rate yourself on where you're at with your total spend. Do you feel confident with what you are spending, where your conversion percentages are? Are you at that 50, 70, 80? And are you tracking your ROI? Okay. And I see all these questions coming through, guys, and I'll answer them here in a second. Okay. There are a lot of new marketing agencies out right now, and it feels like a lot of them read an Alex Hormozy book and said, throw some insane guarantee and put an asterisk, 90 new students in 90 days guaranteed, or we'll give you 10 grand. And what you don't see in their contract is all the different stipulations. And, one of the things that you also see is, you kind of just need one case study to say this works. And many of them just show that same case study over and over again. And we have tons on our website, but these are actual, text messages, Google reviews, emails that have come in within the last, I want to say 2 or 3 weeks, right? So this isn't something that, happened years and years ago. And if you do need help with your digital marketing, we'd love an opportunity to help you. We have that free marketing audit. Shelly says, I'm so tired of the new companies cold calling. Yep, I know. Cold calling is not something that we're about. If you opt in, right, and you request information, then 100% we're going to go ahead and reach out and call. But if you guys need help with it, we do have that free marketing audit that you can grab. During the audit, we're going to go through our 5-step proven process with you, and then we go over the different programs that we have. Okay. Your kind of homework, guys, is just to really look through your notes and go through those checklists and what are the action items that you can implement going into 2026. And look, I'm all about taking time off, right? It's important that you sharpen the saw. I know a lot of you are closed for the next couple of weeks. Can you just take a day? Right? I mean, do you really need 14 days straight off? And if you do, then take it. Like if you are that burnt out, take it. But I would imagine you can take one of those days and really just start looking at what your online presence is or isn't doing and where you have rooms for improvement, and then just start writing in these action steps. Okay. So I'm going to stop the share here. I want to go ahead and go through some of these questions. If you have questions, drop them down and let me know. Bridget, I saw this a couple of times. Apple Maps refuses to update our address after moving 2 years ago. Submitted the request countless times. Send the information. I don't have any advice. I don't know if this makes you feel any better, but you're not the first person that I've heard that has had a struggle with Apple. This would be kind of maybe next level crazy, but hey, if you're a go-getter, you could go on LinkedIn and try and find somebody that actually works at Apple and cold DM them. This is actually a strategy that a lot of agencies use when Facebook business managers get shut down in ad accounts and they support just isn't helpful. We'll literally go to LinkedIn and start looking for people that work at Meta and start like DMing them for help. And in some cases, it actually does help. So maybe, a Hail Mary, but that's a thought. Do you publicize the 2-week trial or only as a fallback? It just depends. There's certain times that we are going to push that paid trial, but like I would say our bread and butter when I was operating the school was the free one-on-one intro. They come in, we walk them through the 4-step enrollment process. If there's any objections, we downsell the trial from there. Okay. Just did a trial 4-step challenge, worked great. 1 buy 99 gear. Step 2, sign up basic. Step 3, refer a friend. I like it. Very good. Paid trials fill up the floors and take uniforms. They don't pay the bills. It's very good. Closing ratio needs improvement, but we're booking 60-70% of our GrowPro leads on average per month. Let's go. Love that, Miss Chacon. Grow for me. Awesome. Love it. We're at 81% show to close, only 32% lead to close. That includes all leads, not just Facebook. That's not bad, ma'am. 28% is what most, if you follow that 50, 70, 80, you'd be at 28%. So you're actually higher. So I would actually be okay with that. All right. Because you got to think that's from opt-in all the way from enrollment, right? It's not, opt-in, appointment, show, and close. Anyone get a call from a British accent? Yeah, sometimes it is nice to hear those like British Ireland accents. I don't know. They're pleasing on the ears. My son changed his Google Map direction to be a guy from Australia, and it does sound a little bit nicer when he's telling you where to go. If I get questions from my website, AI bot, should I consider this as a today buyer? Yeah, that person's on your website. That is a golden lead. Somebody that actually found you somewhere online, clicked on it, waited for your website to load, and then started talking to you. Separation season. Yes, it is. Separation season is kind of like what I look at is from Thanksgiving until New Year's Eve, because a lot of people take their foot off the gas. This is when I like to work even harder. But again, if you need a little R&R, take it. I don't know if you need 14 days though. If you have workers in other time zones, does it still make sense to have an AI employee? If you have people that can answer at the hours that you want them to answer, then no. When launching a new location, should we focus on Google over Facebook? To me, that's asking like, do I want chocolate or do I want key lime pie? Like I want both because they're both my favorite. It's not one or the other, right? It's like if your students ask like, should I learn my offense or my defense? Like, well, you need both. So we got a contact at Apple Maps. Look at that. Thank you, Mr. Steve, coming through. I love it. Bridget, make sure you copy and paste that. Give some love as well. What trial are you offering for the new year? I mean, we're typically what we see for the new year is what we kind of see all the time, with the exception of summer and end of year where you might do more extended trials. But 2 weeks for 29, 4 weeks for 49, those are staples. We actually have data on what produces the highest quantity of leads and the lowest cost per lead. For free offers, it's the free class, free one-on-one intro, or free 2 weeks. Those are the three that we consistently see work really, really well. And then for paid, I did a post on this recently in the MAE group, but 2 weeks for 29 is consistent. 5 classes for 55 is another one. And then 4 weeks for 49. Yes, alliteration plays a role. It just does. Okay. My Google map is more